Welcome to Echoes and Embers. My name is Remy Squeaks, and this week on Echoes and Embers After Hours, I have the lovely, the wonderful Gabbie, also known as Gabberton, also known as Supplement 040, also known as Duresh if you come from the OGs.
Or poke if you come from the really OGs.
Oh, well, we're going to get into that one because that's a
We
story.
will.
How are you
There
doing
were
today,
so
Gabbie?
many as known as there.
Yeah, you have. I mean, at this point, we have definitely delved into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. This is not your first time. Before we get into that, how do I know you? Who are you to me?
Hi, I'm Gabby, and I am your best friend. That's how I know
Yeah.
you. We know each other through college and have stayed best friends since because we're both awesome. And last year, you reached out and said, "Here's how we're going to stay in touch moving forward." And it's going to be getting you into D&D. And I had a lot of reservations about that, but we can come back to those. And here we are a year later, more than a year now,
Yeah, almost
and
two.
three characters for me later, and we're loving it. We're running.
Yeah. So, kind of how that unfolded was my partner, obviously, Wes Bjornson, the one, the only, the one tasty pickle. He has always played Dungeons and Dragons, and he got the itch again. And coming from a place of I want to play, was trying to get me involved in the game. And I said, well, there are people in my life who I couldn't even imagine not doing this with. And if you've played Dungeons and Dragons for a very long time, you know that your job is to indoctrinate others into the magical lore and the Bible of the Dungeons and Dragons universe. So I was like, you know what? We can turn our weekly hangout into a D&D session. To
And now
which,
it's one of my favorite days of the week.
yeah, I mean, me too. Like, I literally look forward to Sundays like crazy. They're the best day of the week.
Don't believe that I am a D&Der. Like, I don't
Oh,
categorize myself that way, but
why? I have to
because
know.
I'm still such a newbie,
2 years
I
later, you consider yourself new to Dungeons and Dragons.
I think I don't claim the title for two reasons. The first being that my first character died so quickly. I feel like lots of people have create a character that they then play with for years and years and years, and everybody else's character lived, but my first character did not, which is totally okay. And like justice for Poke, R.I.P. Bestie.
Mhm.
And then from there, I don't think I know enough about the lore and logistics of D&D. I have just thrown myself into the RPG aspect, and the rest I'm learning as I go. And there's so much knowledge to decipher and dig through that I know that I'm not the expert when I sit down at the table, and I don't want to take away from everybody else's expertise by lumping myself in when I am so uninformed.
Interesting, because I might agree with you on the second half. I don't know if I agree with you on the first. I think that let's just get into who Poke is. Who was Poke? Who was Poke?
So Poke was my first character, and I threw myself into the mentality of I have a pretty loud, spastic personality, and the easiest way for me to learn is going to be through trial and error. So I'm going to create a character that is spastic, and I'm going to lean into the chaos and the crazy, and that way I can justify any mistake that I make or any learning curve that I'm missing as, oh, well, she's just crazy. So, of course, she did that. Of course, she threw a fireball in another tavern again.
More
Like,
than one. Like,
every session,
first
every
time
tavern we went
was a
into.
shock. The third time was a concern. Like, every tavern that we left at one point was on some form of fire. And I love you. And I love what you did and learned with Poke, but oh my god, going through that girl. Who when you say you threw shit like absolutely balls to the wall. Playing
Yeah.
with you was so interesting and such a good way to learn about D&D being like, because I feel like I'd just gotten out of the I'm no longer a newbie, I am now D&D-ish. I like a good
Right.
D&D-ish, and I felt very ish at that point, and I was like, I have no way to stop her. I have unless I'm going to hold her down with my stick.
And even that didn't work. And like DM pulled you out of those moments because he needed me to learn. And
Yeah.
I think that's the part where my next character I was really proud of, Duresh, we'll talk about her in a minute, but with Poke, I was playing as an individual and that character was perfect for me as an individual coming into learning what an RPG is and trying to learn some of these D&D rules, and it was me versus and me with the DM,
Mhm.
but that character just wasn't fair to everybody else at the table. That kind of chaos, that kind of attention grab wasn't fair to everybody else, especially while I was going through that learning curve,
Yeah.
right? Like you can justify a lot of it, but Poke Poke's death was so well deserved.
It was so
And like,
painful.
oh, it was
Oh,
so painful. God, the tears I cried.
everyone. Me, most
Yeah,
especially. So, just for some background, I played a very lawful, good, like, you have to take care of people, you have to be kind to people character. So, running around with Poke, there were many a nights where I would sit with Wes and I go, I don't know how to cope because, like, love the girl, even love the character, but my my character does see the things she's doing as irresponsible.
right.
And I come from a very interesting background in my character. So I was like, I can kind of like sit there and go, well, maybe she just doesn't know anything. Maybe she's just gonna, kind of like maybe this is something that Adver can be aware of. But then it's kept growing to the point where I was like, her complete inability to deal with authority made Adver uncomfortable, but she still was gonna always fight for her. So sitting there and watching what happened to her, if DM had let her get in the middle of it, I would have been right there. And knowing that he made it where none of us could get to you broke me as a player. And I was like, how do you move on? Like, Hoke was my best friend, as because I
Yeah.
kept trying to
Yep.
grab her by her little gnomish body and stop her from fireballing people.
And she loved you for that, and she was so blissfully ignorant in so many ways as she was out meeting all those people, right? Like our very first session, she thought she was this little badass coming in with her disguised self, coming in as the other person, not realizing that she was still her little gnomish person and
Yeah,
not looking
yeah.
like a human.
Full,
So there were so many
fully
ways that she did
same
this.
person, just like what, 3 feet tall. And she's like, they're totally going to believe this disguised self. And we're like,
Yeah. So again, those moments where I, as Gabbie, didn't understand what the hell that spell did, but then also as Poke, embracing and embodying that little bit of chaotically and in her own little crazy world, she fully believed that everyone was going to buy it. And I appreciate the way that Wes played into her chaos with some of those NPCs
mm-hmm,
and allowed her to find friends in that, and like she loved the people who helped her, right? And her line was always, the moment you lie, you're done. You're
right.
out. You can't be here anymore. So immediately she was like skeptical of jargon because he wasn't giving you full truths. And then immediately Wallaby's whole tavern needed to be set on fire because he wasn't
Because
giving
he
you
was
full
in
truth.
love. Because he was in love. Heaven forbid that man grieve. Just grieve the loss of the woman he loves. No, to Poke, that was you were lying, and so therefore I'm going to try to murder you and burn down your tavern.
You were lying, and so you have betrayed me, and we are never friends, and therefore bad things can happen to you, and it's okay if she starts the bad things because fire. Uh,
Also, above table, the funniest part about
yeah,
that whole thing was that that whole storyline was a love letter from my lovely partner to me about our love life, which was tragic and sad, and he wanted to like show us like not making it and like it having that misconnection that we almost had. So he was like, "What a cute love note for me to my partner." And then Gabbie's like,
Came
"Set
in.
on fire? Set it on fire." And I was like, because I don't even think like at that point I could play Adbear. I was just like, "Oh, this is okay."
Bad. But that's again where I think my lack of understanding came in, and my character just was trying too hard to be the center of attention.
Yeah,
And I stand by, I believe I did everything true to Poke's character and
I
the
do agree with
character
that.
that I created. I just wasn't playing good table dynamics.
Well, though, because a lot of people sit at the table and they go, "Well, that's what my character would do. Well, that's what my character would do." And I'm like, "Great, understand, but we are still playing a team game. So if you're picking a character that's so out of line with the rest of your team, then how are we playing in a team dynamic?" And it's like, "Yes, I want you to play your character, but also,
You're not the only one at the table. You're not the only one playing this game. You are not the only main character.
like, we grew. Like when
Right.
we started, it was me, you, Mal, 3 players, 1 DM. And now we're up to 7 players. Is it 7 or 8? I can't even count us
It's
anymore.
seven
There's
of
so many.
us.
7 of us, and plus DM is 8. We have frog in the water a little bit about life, where if you put us in boiling water, we're gonna freak out and we're gonna jump out of the pot. But if you can put us, like, we're gonna complain about it. But if you put us in room temperature and you then set us to boil, we're gonna stay in the pot. And
Yep.
it was always going to be a game with more people. And we were
Yep.
told that from the very beginning. And yet somehow when it came to actually adding more people,
We were not ready for
panicked.
it.
Because there is something about playing a game with your closest friends and then playing a game with complete strangers.
Yeah.
And I do think we are better people for playing with who were complete strangers and are now close friends, because I can't go one day without the group chat ever. Like, it is a huge thing in our lives now, and I wouldn't have known those people if I had not said yes. Bring on more people, because those were not our
Well,
people.
and my favorite character of last campaign was Calrus.
Oh my
So
god, love
like, I'm
Cal.
so glad that he was at the table because it completely changed the dynamics, and it was such an important role to add to our particular group of characters. And I'm so happy to know him as a person at the table level, and I was so thrilled to have his character join the group at the campaign level. So I came around.
Yep. You know, ooh, Cal, Steve for president. I can't wait to interview Cal, because Cal was never a D&D'er. He just walked into that being authentically who Cal is as a person, to the
Yep.
point where now his nickname is Cal, and he will be Cal forever in every D&D game, because you can see the person behind him. But playing a paladin for him just made sense. Like, lawful good. I'm going to go hit that person with my axe.
Yep.
Perfection. Like, I loved playing with
Well,
Cal.
and even when we weren't super connected as characters, he was still very like, okay, we're going to defend the group,
Yeah.
and so we hit that person with our axe. Like,
Do you
no question.
remember
Comes
what
to the
his
face.
like second episode was?
Poke's death.
Poke's death. He came in
And
right then, and he was about to go do exactly what Adbear was going to do, run right
yep,
in,
he
no
had no
questions asked.
hesitation. He was super there for, okay, we're gonna kill this guy now. Yep, got
If it ends
it.
with us all dying, we were all going to die, but we were going to die
Yeah,
together, and it didn't matter how much time you'd spent on his character, anything like that. That's just who he is. Once you're at the table with him, he's got your back 100% of the time. Travis
I think he
Willingham vibes
also,
coming out of that man.
yeah, I think he also did a better job with something that I'm trying to work on this campaign. He came in very committed to the yes and.
Yes. Hmm.
I am not always good at the yes and. I as Gabbie am such an inquisitive person that, okay, if I'm saying yes, I want to know what I'm saying yes to.
Hmm.
And so, again, one of those learning curves that I've had throughout all of last campaign and that I'm enjoying diving into with SUP is this idea of just going with the yes and not fighting our DM and not needing to know everything as it's happening or before it happens, but letting the story play out however it's going to play out.
I love that because that does make you a better player, even though it is one of the hardest things to learn because you're playing a game, you want to win. You want to beat the bad guy, you want to be the best. But that doesn't always mean having the best spells and doing all the right things all the right time. Like you're gonna fumble, and that's the story. Like that's what makes things good. So sometimes agreeing to the thing you don't want to agree to just because you trust your DM, dude, I have never seen a DM have to fight for trust the way Wes had to fight for yours. I will say
Yeah.
that the fight for trust was real, and even though consent wise, you guys were so on the right page, but just the
Yep.
no, I will not answer that question, Gabbie.
I know.
We were not on the right page with that one, were we? But
I know.
now, like, there are things I know Wes isn't telling you in game, and you're like, I have to eat that. Like, I
Yeah.
understand I'm eating it. Like, I don't love it. It's not great, but we've all seen how he plays, and it's easier to, I
Well,
still want
and
to know.
particularly, I'm going to call out one of the moments from this last session that stood out for me as like a prime was I, as Gabbie, was so excited to be back with Captain Frank.
I,
Like, bringing Captain Frank back was so good. And I, as Gabbie at the table level, wanted to go in there and get my magical item, my
yes,
rare magic item. And like, all of you were doing it. And I was like, yes, this is what we're here for. And then I had to step back and realize that, first of all, that's not true to this new character that I've created. And second of all, what's the right story here based on Sup's background, based on the character that I want to be,
hmm
and based on the story that I am building with our DM. And so my intention with the I want to understand,
loved that line.
I I had an I had a rest of the sentence. I had a what Sup
Mm,
wants to understand, but I think it was so much cooler that I just ended it there and let Wes lead with, "Okay,
yeah.
what do you want to understand? I got you. Let's go." And I have no idea what Sup understands now, but it's going to be great to figure it out.
First, I would like, just because I know that you and I care so much about Captain Frank. Who is
Oh,
Captain Frank to us? Why is it that at that moment, I clipped it today, you and I are cheering our freaking heads off knowing he's alive? What what have we done to that man? If we can call him a man.
I feel like this is actually a story for Mal to answer and when you sit down with her because
The person who
it was
actually broke him?
correct. But the part that I can speak to is Captain Frank was our first store interaction. He was such a fun hillbilly character that threw us all kind of out of our element, but was also a fun first puzzle for us to all figure out with
Yes.
I've got half the things you need, everything you want and half the things you need. Like
Mhm.
we all stumbled through that and then latched onto it and that part was super fun. But then we basically killed him.
We
We
basically
left
told him
that
he
experience.
didn't exist and then killed him.
Right. And so we left that experience thinking he was dead.
Yeah.
And to have him come back and have my next character be able to interact with him was such a fun moment because it was a part of her story in the way that we as the team saved him,
Mhm.
but also watching that relationship dynamic that he was in as
Yes.
Daresh was struggling through her own relationship dynamics. And Captain Frank was in this abusive relationship,
Very much so.
and Daresh got to kind of step in between Captain Frank and his lover and stand up for Captain Frank and protect Captain Frank. And in that moment where Daresh had also been in an abusive relationship as the victim, being able to stand up to the abuser was such a huge, beautiful moment. And knowing that it helped him live, that it brought Captain Frank back, just gives me so much joy.
Yes. I think at first Captain Frank was just something for the DM to say, I am not going to do 13 bajillion little NPC store characters. You're going to get one general store, no matter pretty much where you are. And at first, that kind of seemed where he started. But then we got so attached. Like, we would talk about him all the time. We changed how he looked. At first, he was just like a little stick hillbilly. Now he's hot Fabio hillbilly. And
My
w-
first impression, hold on, I'm going to interrupt you for
yeah,
1 second to say my first impression of Captain Frank, like my first mental image was a scarecrow. The
right. That
scarecrow
was what we were
from Wizard
told.
of Oz was
Mhm.
like, here's your scarecrow, turn sentient, who can give you half the things you need and everything you want. Well, and I think that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to in this next campaign is all of the little Easter eggs that will make their way in, right? And I was so surprised we had Captain Frank so soon, and
So
I'm
good.
so excited to see what that means moving forward and how each of us bring in our own Easter eggs
Hmm.
from
Last
previous
episode.
characters. Yeah.
Yeah, last season. I do want to talk about Daresh because I feel like, okay, let's set the scene. Uh, Poke dies dramatically, dies by pissing off a very bad, not the biggest bad or evil guy of the whole campaign, but pisses off a very powerful, very strong wizard named Therax. And because of her showmanship and rudeness in front of a crowd of literal thousands of people, she is perished by a meteor strike directly down upon her to the point where she takes double damage and takes no death saving throws. I'm gonna cry thinking about it. Like,
I know.
that sucked. That
It
sucked.
was it was awful, and the moment that hits the hardest for me out of all of that, where I was like, "Oh fuck, this is her end," was when she tried to call out for Jargon.
Yes.
And Jargon ended up being the big bad evil of the entire campaign, which
Hmm.
Poke knew from session 1. She was like, "This guy is not it. He's going to be problematic." And even in her last moment, she knew that she'd fucked up. She knew that, oh no, I took this too far.
Hmm.
So she called out for help. And when she felt it and then didn't get it, it was just that, oh god, my character is about to die right now. And so trying to play through that, she immediately stopped fighting. She immediately tried to grovel and fend for herself. And like, she stopped fighting the team. It was awful. It was
It was awful.
so emotional, so bad, and so deserved and so well played. Like that kind of godly death was so beautiful. It was the first really dramatic death that we'd seen in the campaign, and so it was my first experience with what is possible in D&D when you reach certain levels of power and when you have that kind of imagination. You
Yeah.
can literally pull meteors from other planes and
And shoot a
demolish
little
someone with
gnome.
them. Yeah, and it was just such beautiful imagery in such a visceral moment that the next episode I think was really hard for me because it was you guys saying goodbye to her without me
Yeah.
in a way. And then that moment walking through the village of ghosts, I don't remember that actual town's name, but
Fallen Heroes. This
yeah,
the Mist of Fallen Heroes or something of that.
yeah, where I actually got to come back and have a little goodbye moment and like give Adver that moment of peace of thank you and go and I'll be okay. And in my heart of hearts, in my world, she's still out there. She's not gone forever. Um, Part of me hopes that Daresh at her end was able to help Poke in one way or the other. Like our goddess of survival either helped her come back or helped her move on.
Well, there
But
was, we'll talk about it more, but there was a moment where they almost really got to meet and talk.
and I shut that moment down because letting go of Poke took several
A
weeks for
lot.
me. I mean, it was a couple sessions before I came back to the campaign because I just could not. I was
Yeah,
not ready to have a new character. I was not ready to let go. I was not sure that D&D was for me after that. I was like, "Okay, I got so invested in this character that was allowed to die? How did that happen?" Like, no, it's D&D. It's all in your imagination. So if
right.
anything is possible, she should never die. And having to come to terms with that and switch that script was a lot. And I came back with Duresh as a very timid and very soft spoken and very shy character. And I spent time with DM discussing what her relationship with Thayrox was going to be. I, as Gabbie, needed to fight for Poke, so I
Yeah.
needed that moment of I have to be involved with Thayrax somehow because my new character is going to make it her mission to kill him. So how do we make it the most compelling story that this guy has to die, not just for Poke, but also for my new character who didn't know Poke.
And Thayrax, after killing Poke, became not the big bad evil, but obviously somebody that we could not stand. We did not want in our lives. We formed a whole let's go kill Thayrax. I think Cal came to try to kill Thayrax so many times. Anytime he was in the room,
Yeah.
actually, I think he tried to throw an axe at him. Even when you were like, no, I'm in love with him, Cal was like,
That
axe,
was so
ready. Steve
yes.
for president, always ready with the axe. Um, so you and Thayrax were apprentice master, but also in a relationship. Coming in, watching you post Poke, having to say goodbye to Poke in that graveyard, one of the worst things I've ever had to do. Because, like, I think I probably spent a week pleading with him, just be like, just bring Gabbie back. Just bring Gabbie back. Like, she knows better. She'll do better. Bring Gabbie back. He's, no, you don't understand how much the game changes and how much more you guys care, the more things happen to you. And I said, yes, but I don't like it. And he's like, that's what you need to live in. Be a little bit more uncomfortable with yourselves, and you'll play a better game of Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, okay. Then Daresh came in, and I felt like she was quiet, like very opposite of Gabbie, loud in the middle. She was very much like, I'm here with my brother, and I'm really just making sure that we're not dying. And I think he let you play into that for about a little while. And then DM is pushy. And so then he just kind of pushed you a little bit forward. He's like, hey, I'm going to show everybody in this party how much of a jerk Therax is. Look at
Yeah.
how much he's abusing your friend. Look how
that
much you
he
hate him.
that he did that fade to black and then had her come back all beaten and torn up and bloody and bruised was aggressive but also beautiful because I do feel like it was a glue moment for everyone in the
Yes,
group. Like suddenly we did all band together in Thayrax sucks.
100%. Because once we, like, it's all fun and games. We always fade to black whenever there's going to be something that's like too much for the game. And usually for us, that was only getting it on scenes. And at first, it felt like that was kind of what you and Thayrax were doing. It was just kind of like, let's get it on. And
Yeah.
then it started becoming you coming back with bruises. And then we're being like, oh, this is not safe for Dresh. But
Yeah.
also, Dresh was sitting there going, yes, I know. And you'd be like, great, perfect. We got her on board. The Thayrax should show up. And you'd be like, true commitment to character. I go back to him and I'm like,
And that was part of the story that again I appreciate how willing was to lean into that because I was playing through my own past trauma of an abusive relationship and getting that moment of I love this man, so I cannot kill him even if I know that he needs to die.
mm-hmm,
Right.
yep,
And so coming in with Daresh was such a completely different and also completely visceral exploration of a relationship. And I appreciated that Wes was willing to step into the role of the abuser for that character and really give her the chance to come into her own and figure out what revenge meant for her and figure out what growth and survival meant.
Yeah.
And the ways that she was able to connect with the group and in her goodbye acknowledge that your love of your love with your friends can be so much more than just romantic love and so much more than love with a partner. It can last longer, it can be stronger, it can be more important, it can be everything.
Yeah.
And the comeback story for Daresh was tragic and beautiful and tormented in all of its own ways. And when when the opportunity came up for Daresh to interact with Poke and for that overlap moment, I, as Gabbie at the table level, so wanted to play into that
Yeah.
because Wes and I had kind of this back and forth through the whole campaign of it was my favorite when he had to play multiple NPCs at once.
Listening
And
to them
like,
have to talk in different voices at the same time, just so happy to my
right,
ears.
right. And so this was him kind of throwing that back at me in the
Yep.
friendly way of, okay, you want to give me hell? You see how hard it is. And I so wanted to play into that, and I so appreciated that he was giving me that opportunity. But it was more important to the character and to Daresh and what she was going through that she was able to say no and walk away. And as she came out the other side of it, a goddess, and ascended, which she absolutely did not want, but was also her path.
Hmm.
I like to believe that she went back and found the people around the fire camp,
I think so too.
or the campfire, and helped them move forward.
And true to that, she became the goddess of survival. She, woo, watching you go through that again, another set of tears because we all died. You had to watch us all go down. How'd that feel watching every single one of the people you love just drop?
I I think if I'm honest, I think I knew it was coming before the rest of you.
Oh, I had no freaking idea. Yep, not a clue.
Yeah,
Freaked out the whole
yeah.
time.
I mean, Daresh had been led to that forest where she'd seen all of you die.
Hmm.
And so there was a moment of this is really happening, and she thought it was going to be her end as well. So she wasn't as surprised. She was more just disappointed that there didn't seem to be a way out of it.
Hmm.
Right? Like she'd been led to that forest in visions and dreams before, and so she had this mindset of, okay, that's a premonition of what could happen.
I can
So we
stop
just
it.
need to make sure that it doesn't happen. I can
Hmm.
stop it. And when it started, it was immediately, oh no, I can't stop this, and we're not getting out of this. This is where all of us die.
Yeah.
And because of the way that the premonition or those dreams, whatever we want to call them, those visions happened, she believed that she was going to be the last one to die. So the fact that DM played it out that way was just gut wrenching, but it was also revitalizing for her,
Hmm.
right? And then when he actually gave her that moment where she got to have a conversation with a god one on one that wasn't trying to hurt her,
Hmm.
that was just asking her a question, giving her a chance, it was a no brainer. To come back, to come back as a god was so not what I, as Gabbie, wanted for Daresh or what Daresh wanted for herself. Like, to come back as the goddess of survival, to come back as a goddess at all, wasn't what she'd wanted, right?
Hmm.
She'd seen this love of her life, so she thought, become a god and abuse her with that. She didn't want any part of it.
Hmm.
And she denied Jargon's game for so long because she didn't want any part of the godhood.
But now we don't have our pantheon for the new world. Do you have any conspiracy theories? Do you think maybe the god pantheon might be coming back? Do you think that he scrapped it and he's led a whole new one? Or do you think that maybe in some future campaign we'll be playing with Duresh, the goddess of survival?
I think I'm very curious if we are in the same world as our
Mm,
previous campaign,
me
or if
too.
we are. I mean, Frank exists, which leads me to believe that we are in the same world. Whether or not we are on the same plane, questionable.
Because Captain Frank goes to all planes, but we seem
Correct.
to be on a
Captain.
common plane. So mm, we never got anything
Maybe.
bigger than two continents last game. So we could
Correct.
just be on the opposite side of the world. But we even knew that the pyramid or the pantheon was country specific
Was located to where we
where
were,
we
right?
were.
So I don't know that I don't know that I'm worried about the Pantheon in this campaign.
Mm.
I don't know that. So again, I think this is where my lack of knowledge of D&D comes into play, in that I don't necessarily know that it's important to get into the gods in this campaign.
Ooh, so I do think that on some level, yes. Like D&D, you have to have gods because if you don't have gods, then you don't have clerics and you don't have paladins and you don't
Right.
have the people like at the top level giving power down.
Correct.
But Sup doesn't have a god right now. Like we're not aware of
Correct.
Sup's god, and I think for that level there is going to be something hiding in there for you. I don't know what it is. I'm hoping it's Duresh, just because you're playing a cleric, and I would love to see him become the cleric of survival, but that's me being he has a rubber duck, not a flower, so I have to temper that expectation.
This level of, I don't know if Sup God will be the god of rubber ducks, or
I know it's a duck, but it's rubber duck in my brain.
I know, no, it is for sure a rubber ducky.
Rubber ducky.
Uh, and I did play around with, as I was creating this image, this AI image of Sup, I played around with different images on his chest plate, and I had a flower there for a minute, and I just couldn't bring myself to force that storyline
Hmm.
on Sup or on the DM. Like, could it have just been a fun nod to Duresh? Yes, but I didn't want to force it where it didn't need to be there. And part of Sup's backstory will come forward the more that we play.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to. I want the story to lead naturally for Sup as his own character. And I do believe that if given the opportunity, Sup would immediately declare for Duresh,
Hmm.
declare his loyalty to Duresh. I don't think there would be any hesitation there.
Survival seems like
And
a good one for him if it came about in a natural way. Yes, obviously, I would agree with that.
yeah, and I think Duresh could be a great guide for him in, okay, there are shades of gray in what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's
Mm.
bad, and how you protect those that you care about. I wanted to be intentional with SUP, and Supplement 040 is so different from who I am as a person, not just in it's a robot, not just in the pronouns he, it, which it's my favorite thing that everybody is messing that up
We're
still.
we're working so hard for that one, but man,
No,
some people we just need
I
to
get
just constantly look at your gamer tag and just stare at the he because we look at you and we know you and yeah.
and I don't have a good voice, so I know that I am my own demise there, but it's
But
this
I do like Supplement doesn't have a voice. You're right. Let's clarify. Supplement is your voice, but you do bring
yeah,
it down to a level. And but you also do something interesting with Supplement that I do love, where you bring in a lot of character with a one worder. You're a
okay,
classic, okay. And as a
okay.
player, that's really freaking hard because I'm like, oh, okay. Like, but also I love that, like, because it's just honest to God. Like you were like, we're sneaking, and Supplement's like, I'm just walking.
Yeah.
Well, then no sneaking then because we have a giant robot now. Just on our way. And I like that about him. I think that's going to be fun to play because you can't play like a truly like talkative, verbose character. So when you have something to say, I like it when it's coming out as
That one
comedic.
word kind of dry, like, yeah, sarcastic, just caustic,
I also just want to
mono
know what he understands. Like, I think
yeah,
knowing you and knowing above table, he wants to understand humanity. I feel like he wants to
yes,
understand why people have more understanding of the world than Sup himself does. But knowing that
sup
Supplement understands something, I think is even better because I'm like, ooh, yes. He needed
yeah.
something that he's not even aware of, and I'm excited to see what that thing is.
I am so with sup, there's so much that I want to share but also can't share,
Not ready. Yeah.
and
We'll when we do our next one for you, then we'll be able to be like,
yes,
yeah,
yes, there will be so much more character reveal, but with sup, it was such an intentional I went to the DM and said, "Here's my idea, and if you're willing to roll with this, here's the background that I have for you." I fully expected DM to say, "You need to work on that some more." Like, great theory, maybe not for this campaign. Or I expected him to say, "That's a good start, but we need to provide more here. You need to give me a little bit more to work with." And instead, he fully
we
embraced
love
the
Sup.
perfect, yeah, let's go. And I now have to lean into what I gave him as my character's backstory, that finding those areas of what's going to be the trigger to Sup's humanity
Mm-hmm.
is going to be really interesting, because that moment with Alexi where Sup's eyes went red and we don't know what that means. And now Sup has interacted with Frank and he understands.
Yep.
What does he understand? And yes, at the table, you are correct. Sup just wants to understand what it is to be a human. So there's a level of humanity that he doesn't understand. There's a level of emotion that he doesn't understand. There's a level of he is a robot. So there are facts, and there's at the cleric level, there's wisdom and law, and what's right and what's wrong, what's good is bad, or what's good and what's bad. And trying to, as Gabbie,
Right.
step away from all of the things that I want to lean into, right? As Gabbie, I have a million questions here. And as Gabbie, there's so many plot lines that happened in session 2 that I wanted to explore and jump down those rabbit holes. But as Sup, I can't step into that
Mm-hmm.
because that's not that character. And I'm really embracing this. Okay, what would a robot do? How would mechanically this process through? And at the cleric, good versus bad, right versus wrong, he follows, he protects.
Mm-hmm.
And so Terry is who he came in with, and that was a very
I love yours combos.
oh,
I love that you are so willing to play a combo character. You have in two
yeah,
campaigns now.
yeah.
But Roger, we should just stop and talk about you and Roger because you guys didn't know each other. You weren't friends. You weren't. I don't think outside D&D you had said hello to each other, but
I
then
met
you're
Roger
best friends.
at our session 0, and we came into this, and I honestly, the difference in my character between session 0 and session 1 was so drastic, and I loved that I caught Roger off guard with that,
Big
and I
time.
also felt so bad that I caught him off guard
So
with that.
funny.
I should have prepared him more,
Nope.
and instead it was just such great TV, right? Like, it was so fun to watch him be like, "Oh, okay, this is who I'm rolling
Right.
with."
Yeah, he was not
And
expecting the dryness, that's for sure. But then again,
yeah,
you were in session 0 and he got stuck and literally
right,
immovable. And so non-talkative Sup then became captain of the
right.
room. So, yeah,
And we had to get ourselves out of there. And so, yeah, I think session 0 was a little bit of Sup mixed with a little bit of Gabbie, because the situation required something to happen.
right.
And so I had to tap into my inquisitive nature, and I had to do a little bit of digging in a way that I don't think Sup would do in the group. Um, but I was so excited when Roger came in with Terry, and it was like, yes, let Terry be the personality,
Hmm.
and that way I can come in and be the dry.
You would not be able to tell that you guys didn't know each other. Like that's how good I feel like that dynamic's going by even episode 2. Like Roger standing at the door being like, "Absolutely, I'm not leaving Supplement. If Supplement is inside, I am not going anywhere." I'm like, "You couldn't have
Yeah.
had a better buddy in that." I would love to be your buddy, but I do think Roger is the best buddy.
And he surprised me with that one, honestly. Like, I didn't think that Terry was going to be as attached to Sup as Sup is to Terry. And
Mm,
so I appreciated that he had that defense moment of like, okay, no, we look out for each other. And again, continuing that Rocket and Groot dynamic, and that there is a give and take there, where from Sup's perspective, Sup is there to protect Terry. So that is what Sup will do. And to have Terry then be there and so staunch in
backing him up
his
as well.
tininess of backing up Sup as well is going to be good for their character development. And
Yes.
expecting Terry to be the lead in this past episode, and that next session, I think is really going to be Terry heavy as well.
Hmm.
Given how we ended things, I just think that naturally that's going to be a very Terry heavy
Yeah, I mean, it
episode.
can't not
Then,
be when his face is on a church.
right, yeah. So I'm very curious to see if their friendship origin story comes out next session,
Mm.
or if it holds off a little bit longer, and to see how DM Roger and I play that.
Yeah, I'm excited
It's
for
gonna
that.
be good.
Y'all already play so fabulously together. Like you guys
Yeah.
you couldn't tell that you guys didn't know each other coming in. Like you guys are able to just flow.
I give that credit entirely to Roger because he has so much D&D experience and he's so easy to get along with as a person, and then he created this perfect character that, I mean, I didn't know about his character until we sat down
Hmm.
for session 0 together, right? I didn't know Roger until we sat down for session 0, and I didn't know his character until we sat down for session 0. And seeing that we just happened to perfectly separately create these Rocket and Groot
It was
characters, it was
perfect.
like, this is cinematic perfection in they are going to come in together and everyone will immediately accept that they are together
Right?
because that is so relatable. And to have that kind of blend, to have my stumble through coming in as a duo with Duresh, and like that struggle that I had in the
Hmm.
at the beginning of Duresh there was rough in the moment, but now has me so much more prepared for letting Terry be his own character,
Hmm.
do his own thing, and giving Roger the space to build out what his character is and have its own story, while also being this kind of dynamic duo.
Right.
And I so appreciate how much Roger has leaned into it. And so I think I struggle with the improv a little bit, and to have Roger have flowed so well with the crap I threw at the walls was just so awesome.
I think that if you're trying to learn a yes and, he is a great person to learn that from because he
Yeah.
is definitely like coming into the game, he was like, "What kind of characters are you guys looking for?" And I was like, "I don't think in the time that any of us has been playing, anyone has ever asked, 'Hey, what does the group
What do
need?'"
you need? Yep.
We had no clerics last game because no one cared what the group needed. We all wanted to play like the fun, cool, baddie, right? And so
Yep.
he is such a yes and human, and I think that playing with him is going to make you a yes and person. And
Yeah.
I think there could not be a better dynamic to start you off with than Roger.
I, as Gabbie, really wanted to lean into the yes and this campaign, and Roger has already been perfect in helping me move forward with that. And I'm so excited about the ways that that will help my story develop and my ability to roleplay at a table level moving forward, because I think there's just so much that I don't know about Sup, and that not just we as a team don't know about Sup yet, but that I as Gabbie
Yeah.
don't know about Sup yet, and that I'm excited to see where the story brings out pieces of Sup that I think I know
Hmm.
versus the pieces of Sup that I don't, right? Like, I fully freaked all of you out of character with the German moment,
Perfect.
and that was just fun. When Terry set it up so nicely, it was like, oh, I'd been twirling. Do I want to bring up German in this campaign as like a fun little thing? Is there a way to incorporate that to make it one of one of Sup's isms?
Hmm.
And Terry set it up so perfectly by let me just dive in and tinker and like,
Perfect.
okay, he's tinkering with me. Let's go to German. Here's that moment. So, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the backstory coming out in a way that the DM will surprise me because I know the DM will
For
surprise
sure.
me.
For sure. Um, Surprises is his favorite word in the whole wide world.
Right.
It's the word surprise, and it's let's see how much I can traumatize my players. And if Remy's crying, I've done a really good job.
Yep.
If Remy's
we've
crying and Gabbie's freaking out,
we've
flawless.
succeeded. I know. He feels like he's won D&D every time you and I have a freak out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like people do different things at the table, right? Like some people are avid note takers, some people are just like really in. Gabbie and I are mouthers. We're like full facial expression people. If we're not in our screen doing one of these, you know it's not a real moment. Like
Yep.
I don't know how else. Like there's a reason I can't have stuff in my way because this all needs to be available for me to do my mayhem and you are with me
Yeah.
right there. Like you complained last game because you couldn't easily see me, and how can we emote if we can't see each other? Like,
Right.
there's a reason I put our boxes right next to each other, so that way if we turn and look at each other, it's like we're looking at each other. I can't
Yeah.
this way
Like, what do we do?
constantly.
What do we do?
It's our favorite thing to do during D&D is to look at each other and have a silent conversation between the two of us where we're just going,
Yep.
yeah. That's
Yep.
when,
I mute myself and I just start screaming and looking to Remy.
and then you just see that little smile on his face, like he's done such a good job. And he's like a
I
little
know. He's
goblin,
so
like
proud of himself.
I've ruined their day again.
I think that's where I'm excited to ask the table for a little bit of grace and like, okay, bear with me because I, as Gabbie, still want to be having fun
Right.
here and true to who I am. I'm always going to emote and always going to react.
Yeah.
So I need to get better about separating, like, okay, Sup is going to come in and ask, or Sup is going to come in and say, okay.
Hmm.
And like, but Gabbie is up here going, what the hell is going on?
I also think
Yeah.
that like we have seen other facets of sub even this early on, like watching sub
Yeah.
break and go into German. I do see moments where you get to be authentically Gabbie because
Yeah.
that is Gabbie. When his eyes go red, I wonder if there's going to be more of a different response because that even though he is an unemotional robot, you're not, right? Like you got upset
Right.
because something was breaking. So that's humanity. He's not recognizing even the little bit of humanity that's in him. And I wonder what's going
Right.
to tap through the glass in those moments where Gabby's going to come out and shock the world on Sup. I'm excited because I
Yeah.
know you have it and you're like ready for the moment, but it's not, I mean, obviously episode 2 is not it. We
Right. No, I completely
I
agree.
would love to also hear how you what you would give a new player who has never ever sat at a D&D table. If you could only give them one thing of advice, what's the Gabbyism? What's the thing that you're wanting to tell that person?
lean into the emotion of it. Become obsessed with your character, become emotionally invested immediately. I did a lot of things wrong with Poke. I did a lot of things wrong with Duresh. I have already done a lot of things wrong with Sup. But the one thing that I don't regret in any of them is how emotionally invested I am from the beginning. Like, I adore Sup. I am immediately connected. I will be devastated. I will cry at the
Yep.
table if Sup dies next session. Like, I am in it. And I think that level of commitment to your character makes it that much easier to commit to everybody else at the table and
Sure.
throw yourself into what you're playing and what you're doing.
Anything that you are seeing turn into like a pregame ritual? Like, do you have anything that like
Ooh,
gets you in that
yeah,
hat? What is it?
yeah. So I have a mug that Mal gave me years and years
Oh.
ago now, and it is my D&D tea mug. So I have a tea that is always the same flavor that I'm not going to talk about now. We'll talk about the next time I interview.
Okay.
Um,
I love that.
so what flavor of tea I'm drinking, not to be revealed yet, but I always have a mug of tea at the table with me. Um, I try to give myself the half hour before we actually start. Like, I
Mhm.
don't like to be the one scrambling to the table last minute, and that throws me out of it if I'm like, okay, Gabbie is finishing up laundry or finishing up her dinner or finishing up whatever, and then, oh, look, shoot, D&D starts in 2 minutes. I'm
Right.
scrambling to sit down and get all my stuff together. I'm not, I don't put the hat on as quickly. So giving myself half an hour to get ready for D&D, and whether that's making sure I have my dice, rolling all of my D20s
Yeah,
before
finding out which ones are
my
naughty.
characters roll.
Immediately
Yeah.
naughty rolls. You got to find out
Yeah.
where's my little what's the one that's going to jail immediately.
Yes. So I get my iPad, I get a notebook, like a pad and paper, because depending on how I'm feeling that day, maybe I want to write it out on my iPad, maybe I want to handwrite it.
Fair.
Um, I make sure that all of my devices are charged, charging. I try to make sure that my tech is set up because I am technologically illiterate and almost always struggle with it.
I love you.
Um,
I love you,
and
and we've worked on it so better. You're so much better at the computer and all of this now than we were when we started. So you had technical
we're getting
difficulties, and
there.
it took 2 seconds today.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
We're getting there. There will be a day where I don't have technical difficulties. But for now, uh,
Everyone has them.
yeah, I'd like to be early. Even if I'm not in my chair until 2 minutes
Right.
before D&D starts, I like to have it all set up. I know that I need the 30 minutes before D&D to get ready for D&D. I also always have a salty and a sweet snack
Ooh.
at the table. So
I was
I'm
gonna
like,
ask you what your snacks are. So, like, is
yeah.
it always the same or is it different? Like, it has to be salty and it has to be sweet.
It always changes out what the salty and the sweet are. Like the snack itself changes, but there always has to be a salty and a sweet at the table, within reach. I always have water. I always have my mug of tea. And my favorite is that within reach, almost always within reach, I have a crochet project
Hmm.
because sometimes my hands get restless or my anxiety spikes. I'm like, okay, we're going through this tense moment and I need to like let out some of this energy. I can't do jumping jacks right now, so I am going to twiddle my hands.
You are a nervous crocheter, that's for sure. Whenever there
Yeah,
was something really bad going on, usually it's Gabby crocheting. Wes, as I know, put a
yeah,
little bit of a damper on your ability to crochet because I think he made a comment that it was stressing him out watching you crochet, which I
yeah.
one of DM's weird quirks, but I always know when there's a panic moment, she's doing this, like you're like, oh shit, she's going through it right now. She's going on those crochet hooks.
Well, and I'm trying this campaign, I'm really trying to not. I want to keep the crochet separate because I think it was distracting at times last campaign, but I know that I need something to move my nervous energy. So I'm thinking I'm going to get like a stress
I
ball
love
or
that.
one of those little pop it things, fidget toys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so that
use
I
this
can.
one because it's got a little weight on it. I have tons of different like in any sphere. I usually keep at least three because you're right. Like I need the nervous
Yeah,
squishies need to happen. Hmm. Tell me
any of
one
that.
thing that you are looking forward to this campaign. It could be literally anything.
I have a love-hate relationship with the way our DM builds a world and NPCs and a storyline. I love his music. It creeps me the hell out. I am so in awe of the way that his imagination has built a story and the way that he so seamlessly, seemingly seamlessly and effortlessly pulls together 7 different characters that have nothing to do with each other and can get us into a room together, cooperating and playing well together. And I equally I am in awe of him and I hate him because I'm terrified. And I
Which
his
he does it
grim dark horror
specifically
is
to
so
ruin you and
hard.
me. So,
I know. So I love the fact that like I have so much appreciation for his art and the way that he creates and his imagination and his inspiration, and I am equally terrified by it. So I know already I can look ahead knowing that I'm going to be creeped out. I can look ahead
yes.
knowing that I'm going to be afraid at some point. And I can look at Mort and know that every time I see that picture, I am traumatized again and creeped
Lizard,
out again.
lizard, lizard,
Yeah,
lizard. We lizard when we
yeah,
see Mort.
yes. And so I am looking forward to, in equal measure, that I am loathing the future horror that
Yeah.
I will experience.
I think that shows so much as you as a player though, because I feel like if we went back 2 years and you told Gabbie what she was doing right now, she would be not only horrified, she would stand to her guns that that was never something she'd ever do. Playing with 7 people, outrageous for her. Playing in a
Yeah,
horror campaign, unheard of for her. So, in that, I want to give you props for how far you've come because holy moly, most people don't. They just give up. They're just like, you know what? Absolutely not. And you have put so much trust in our friendship and my relationship with Wes and your now founding relationship with him to play in a game that you know is going to make you scared in ways that are uncomfortable for you. And yet you
yeah,
can sit there and go, yes, I am uncomfortable. And I'm almost looking forward to being uncomfortable. What a magical place to be in almost 2 years later. Like, I could not have fathomed that Gabbie, who swore that she had to have the answer to last campaign in like the first month of playing, she was demanding an answer to all of it for a almost 2.5 or 2 year campaign, was demanding answers. And now you're like, I don't know. I might not never know. I'm going to be scared shitless and I'm playing with tons of people. Let's get it.
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think you give me way more credit
No, I don't.
than I deserve.
Absolutely
I
not.
It has been baby steps into the deep end. I know that I'm not as far into the deep end as it gets, that it can go deeper, and I am so grateful and appreciative of the trust that I have with you and our friendship, with everyone at the table, even as those friendships are growing,
Yeah.
and with our DM who was so open to the boundaries and like my limitations as I started and set forth in, okay, here's where I'm willing and ready to get uncomfortable versus here's where no, I can't do that,
Hmm.
and if this comes up that may be where I have to leave. And he heard that, he's run within those confines, those limitations, and made it a safe space for me to come in and be uncomfortable. And so, of course, I'm ready to keep diving into the discomfort in the ways that it means I get to grow.
All right. Well, that means that you're going to be up to be Mort's obsession since you're so willing to be
No!
uncomfortable. I wish you and Mort the best marriage because apparently one of us has to marry him if we're going off D&D campaign lore. So good luck, Sup. I hope you marry Mort and it's not Fenna.
You don't think that's your love story coming into play again? You and Wes, Fenna and Mort?
You know, we'll talk about it when it's Fenna's turn. When it's Fenna's turn,
Oh,
I will answer that question for you. But thank you again.
of course.
I value your friendship. I value you at the table. You're one of my favorite people to play with, but also I can't imagine being so vulnerable in D&D without you. You we teach each other so much. So that's always been fabulous. And if you're not playing, I'm not playing because oh my god, who am I going to scream with? who am I going to scream with if you're not there? So sorry, bud, but this is your hobby forever. This is your life now. So you better accept it and move along.
I adore you, and I will sit at any table that you are at just to sit there and emote with you. And I can't wait for the ways that our friendship gets to keep growing because this has been nothing but an awesome opportunity and a fabulous time for me. And it's my favorite part of the week sitting down at the table with you.
Well, then I guess I'll see you Sunday.
I'll see you Sunday. I love you.
Mwah. Love you too. Bye.
Bye.